spots available, 3 spots to be exact. But before we do move on to UEFA, let me grab a bottle of water, man, because we're going to be talking for the next half hour about Europe and about CONCACAF as we wind down this comprehensive, the most comprehensive World Cup qualifying update on planet Earth, in the universe, in this galaxy. And we're doing it. I don't want to hear you guys talk about nobody else, because nobody else doing what we're doing right now. We are doing it. Okay? Let me grab a bottle of water really quick. Don't get me started. All right. So I got my water on deck, you know what I mean? Hydration. And we're going to talk Europe. Not for very long, but we got to talk about these ties that's coming up here in round 2, where we have Austria, Czech Republic, Italy, North Macedonia, Poland, Portugal, Russia, Scotland, Sweden, Turkey, Ukraine, and Wales, all scrapping it out for 3 more spots. And the format this time was a different format, where there were actually playoff paths from 1 to 6, where playoff path 1 and the 1 and 2 would go into the first semifinal path, 3 and 4 into the next one, and 5 and 6 into the final playoff path here. And you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about here. So in the playoff paths, we have I'm pretty sure they're in the same. Let me see. I don't know if they're in the same format here, but
No.
they're not. They're not. But let me actually pull up something else so that we get this, in the right format. And you see, the website should have it in the right format, but obviously they don't. So yeah. So I'm gonna pull this up, and we're gonna know the exact path. I'm gonna switch this over to Wikipedia. Sometimes not the most reliable, but I think this time around they got this definitely correct. So let me make this a bit bigger here.
Yeah.
And
these are also going to be really hard games to call as well.
yeah, definitely. So we are not gonna what we're gonna do briefly, we'll just touch on the groups and then get to the current round. So for Serbia, they topped Group A. Portugal came in second, went into the playoffs. The Republic of Ireland, Luxembourg, and Azerbaijan miss out. Spain topped Group B ahead of Sweden. This was, we didn't even get to discuss this properly, but, this was a crazy group, man. And Sweden go into the playoffs. Greece, Georgia, and Kosovo miss out. Switzerland topped Group C to put Italy into the playoffs.
Almost said Egypt there.
Yeah, I almost said Egypt, man. I talked about Egypt, Senegal for way too long, but Italy into the playoffs here. And it's crazy because one of Italy and or Portugal will miss out on the World Cup, which is crazy. And we'll talk about that. Northern Ireland, Bulgaria, and Lithuania miss out. France topped Group D as expected. Ukraine came in second, going to the playoffs. Finland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Kazakhstan miss out. Belgium, as expected, topped Group E, with Wales going into the playoffs and the Czech Republic getting a playoff spot via the Nations League. Estonia and Belarus miss out. Denmark topped the group. Remarkable run by actually winning 9 games. Lost the last game there, which is very, very disappointing, but it is what it is. Let me down. But they qualified for the World Cup. Amazing run to Qatar. Scotland go into the playoffs. Israel miss out, but Austria, who came in 4th, get a Nations League backdoor into the playoffs there. Faroe Islands, your islands, and Moldova miss out. For Group G, the Netherlands are back at the World Cup. And Turkey miraculously snuck in. They had to hire Stefan Kuntz to get in, and they're in the playoffs. Norway miss out. Very disappointing by Norway there to miss out. Montenegro, Latvia, and Gibraltar. I think Norway suffered the whole Erling Haaland situation where Haaland got injured. Group H, remarkably, Croatia qualified directly with 23 points. Russia came in second. I actually picked Croatia to go into the playoffs, but it's Russia into the playoffs, which means Slovakia, Slovenia, Cyprus, and Malta miss out. We have England qualifying directly, as most people expected. Poland into the playoffs. Albania, Hungary, Andorra, and San Marino, of course, misses out. And last but not least, Germany, after losing to North Macedonia. North Macedonia defeated Germany. Am I right on that one, right?
Yes, indeed. Under the dying days of Yogi Low.
Yeah, North Macedonia defeated Germany to, give them a scare, but with Hansi Flick coming back into the national team setup, he actually, steadied the ship. Germany qualify with 27 points. North Macedonia, congrats to them. They're into the playoffs for the first time. Armenia, who looked good. Armenia looked really good, but they fell short there. Iceland, disappointing. Debutants in the last World Cup, very disappointing this time around. And Liechtenstein, who I think these teams should go into a preliminary round and not be involved in these qualifiers at all. So, look, we're at the second round. We're not going to spend too long discussing the group stage. It's going to take forever. But in terms of the teams in the second round here, we have the Pats. Part 1, Part 2 match up against each other. And then we have the playoff paths, where you see playoff path A, where Scotland will take on Ukraine and Wales will take on Austria. And we're going to see a situation where the winners of each of these semifinals would actually meet. These are one-off games too, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Which is crazy when you think about it. It's not like two-legged affair where you have a second chance at home or whatnot. And these games are actually, for these games, for example, Scotland will be hosting Ukraine for this game, right?
Yep.
And Wales would be hosting Austria. So these teams got lucky in terms of ended up being hosts. So that is also something you have to factor in. And look, man, this format is a weird one, never used before. And with the Nations League being factored in, it's give the competition more significance. So we see situations where Scotland and Wales could meet each other. I haven't made up my mind yet to who I think are going to go through these ties. I will. I have a month and some to do so. But Scotland and Ukraine is a good one because, look, Scotland, they are a very good team. They have some quality players who are featuring in top Premier League teams. You think Tierney, Robertson, you think the Armstrongs as well. Mm-hmm. Che Adams have looked good recently. Lyndon Dykes as well. So they're going to be a very, very difficult team to beat, in my opinion. And as for Ukraine, I think what they're lacking right now is leadership. The fact that Shevchenko left the helm. And, who's in charge now? Valery Karpin? Or is that the Russian guy?
That's the Russian coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't remember the manager's name off the top of my head right now. But let me just click this Ukraine thing and get the manager. Alexander Petrikov. All right. So Petrikov is actually in charge. At least I remember the Russian manager. He's new. What are your thoughts on the Scotland-Ukraine matchup here?
I think all these games are really tough. I mean, Scotland, you have to give them a lot of credit. The last couple of years, they've really emerged. Ever since, I think, the first nation of the Nations League, they've done really well for themselves. And when they made it to the European Championship, they were the only team to get a result on England, in Wembley, no less. They're going to relish this opportunity. They haven't been to a World Cup since 1998. They're hosting this match at Hampden Park, I think. And if they come through this, it could set up an all-UK clash potentially with Wales. I think this is Scotland's best chance to make it back in a while. And at home, they're going to have that advantage. With Ukraine, guys like Yarmolenko, Zinchenko, Roman Yaremchuk. They made it to the quarterfinals, I think it was, in the Euros. I think I agree with you. The whole factor of Andrei Shevchenko no longer being at the managerial helm, it kind of throws it up in the air for them as far as like who can make those big in-game decisions in those key moments. One thing, though, going in Ukraine's favor is they did go undefeated in qualifiers. They actually drew 6 out of 8 games.
Yeah.
They avoided defeat to France, but then they also could not dispatch with Kazakhstan twice. So, yeah, it's
I
a tough
think
one.
I think the ball is in Scotland's court here. The home crowd and everything, you know what I'm saying? It's really gonna be tough to topple this Scottish team, in my opinion. This team is gonna be hard to beat. This Scottish team is gonna be hard to beat. Hampden Park. I heard a lot of people say that's like one of the best venues in terms of the atmosphere too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think Ukraine they'll have to play out of their skins to get the better of Scotland, and I fancy Scotland here. I have to say I fancy Scotland. As for the next teams in the path here, Wales versus Austria. The game will be at Cardiff. You know, and that's another advantage there for very good Welsh team who, you know, had a setback with Ryan Giggs as well in terms of him being the manager and the whole situation, his legal troubles, and, you know, the manager who actually stepped in, and Rob Page, who stepped in as caretaker. And interestingly, Ryan Giggs is still listed as the head coach. You know what I'm saying? Pending the legal situation there, I guess, you know, innocent until proven guilty. And we're gonna see a situation where we could see Wales versus Scotland, and the final will be hosted by Wales or Austria if they do go through.
Yep.
So just keep that one in mind.
That's huge.
And for Austria, they are actually a team that's very, very difficult to gauge as well, where we expected them to actually get rid of Franco Foda after the Euros, but they didn't. They stuck with him, and he, you know, they were kind of in a position where the Nations League favored them, and they didn't really need to do anything crazy in qualifiers. So they're tricky. They're a tricky team to get, but they have so many talented players who ply their trade in the German Bundesliga. David Alaba, of course, their talisman. They have Marko Nautovic back again. So it's gonna be a tough one. But look, for Wales, who haven't made it to the World Cup since 1958, they would be itching to get back to the grand event. And Gareth Bale, Ramsey, a couple of the youngsters, you know, Nico Williams, and, you know, a few of the names are not coming to me right now, but this Welsh team is very, very talented. Daniel James of Leeds United now. I've been playing some, you know, better on the Leeds than Man United, if I'm being real. It's going to be tough for Austria. This one is hard to pick too, you know. I would actually, let me just say this. I want the All-Britain final. I want the All-UK final, man. That's what I want to see.
Well, my thoughts on Wales-Austria. I actually think Wales is a more refined team than they were 4 years ago, despite the fact that they got to that semi back in 2016 in the Euros. Euro 2020, they punched above their weight again, I think. They cut through a group where containing the Italians and the Swiss and even Turkey. Remember, prior to that tournament, Turkey and Switzerland were billed as higher than the Wales, but Wales actually ended up finishing second, and then they came undone against Denmark. Austria is the wild card, I think, in this path, because you never know what you're going to get with them beyond the shadow of a doubt. Remember, they pushed Italy to the brink. If that match had just gone a little bit differently, I think who missed his chance in front of goal? Was it Marcel? Who's the guy's name? Marcel something. They had a chance to take the lead.
I can't remember. Marcel Sabitzer.
Sabitzer, yeah. I almost said Schmelzer, but Marcel Sabitzer. They could have that entire complexion of that tournament could have changed, and they gave Italy, one of the eventual champions, one of the toughest games in that Euros. So they can always when they're really when they have their shit together, they can.
They're wild card, but it's up to tactics. I think Franco Foda, whenever he plays Alaba in a more attacking position, they do better. You know what I'm saying?
He was putting him at center back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was weird.
Exactly. So he does like to play at center back. We see that a lot, but still he does play a lot better when he play in the forward position.
I'm going with Wales.
Yeah, I'm going with Wales too. For these countries, Scotland last qualified 1998. Ukraine 2006, of course, they made their debut. Austria 1998 and Wales 1958. And ask me how I know this stuff, because last World Cup I studied World Cup very, very deep. I went deep into World Cup studies, man, because Football Pharaoh had to quiz me a couple times, so I had to know my stuff. So look, Path B here. We're gonna go to Path B.
Wait,
Rush, yeah.
As far as I don't know, like early calls, and both of us are gonna probably revise our picks because we have a month or so. If we get Scotland, Wales, who do you would favorite come out of that?
Ah, man, Scott, that one is and it could go any way. But I am fancying Scotland right now, man. Scotland have proven themselves to be very consistent. So have Wales, but I just think Scotland have been way more consistent lately. And they've had some very tough games, coming up against the likes of Austria a couple of times, Israel, so I'm fancying Scotland here above Wales. Look, it doesn't really matter who qualifies. It's nice to see one of these teams back to the World Cup. But for Ukraine, I just think, they haven't been performing well lately. They've been getting the results, the draws, but Austria is a coin toss for me. So for Path B here, Russia, who I thought were going to actually qualify directly, they sacked Stanislav Cherchesov after the Euros, which came as a shock. I didn't even realize they had done it, but they done it, and they're coming up against Poland here. That's going to be a tough one to predict as well, because Poland with Robert Lewandowski, they need the other players to step up. And Sweden versus Czech Republic. Czech Republic have looked really good lately. And Sweden is a team that, I don't know, man. They had it, and they just blew it, man. They just completely blew the opportunity to send Spain into the playoffs. So how are you feeling about Path B here?
I think that Sweden could be the biggest screw job in the entire 2022 World Cup qualifying cycle. Spain qualified directly by the grace of Sweden's fuck up. Yep. I think that they screwed up so badly. They after beating Spain, they went into that final match in Spain needing to beat them again because they lost to
Greece.
They lost to Greece, and then I think they dropped points to Georgia as well.
Yeah, it was really weird, man. It was
weird.
really. They had it, and they blew it.
They had it, and they blew it. And they're coming up against the Czechs, and I think the Czechs really could be the sleeper team here. They did pretty
well at the Euros.
Yeah, respectably. They knocked off the Netherlands. Patrick Schick was joint top goal scorer of that tournament, I think, with Ronaldo. And the only thing going against the Czechs here that makes me weary is that based on the format, they'd have to play 2 road games. So they have to come through against Sweden, and then the winner of Russia-Poland will host the final match. I don't know if they could do it twice on the road, but the Czechs, they're looking to make it back for the first time since 2006. I think that they're well coached. I think Yaroslav Šilhavý, he's done a decent job with this team. As far as Russia and Poland go, Russia came very close to direct qualification. That own goal they scored in the last game against Croatia, they're going to be
that game was a scrappy game in the rain and the mud, man.
Yeah,
that one was not pretty.
They needed a draw just to qualify directly. So
Croatia deserved it, though. Croatia really deserved that win, if you ask me. But look, for Sweden, a question I have: do you think they should leave Zlatan Ibrahimovic out? Because since he came back into the fray, I think that's where they kind of went downhill. Though, if I'm being completely real, it's a nice romantic gesture to bring him back into the setup, but it hasn't helped the team at all.
I've got a lot of heat on this on social media, but I think he needs. I think I never was in support of him coming back. It's not a coincidence, in my view, that Sweden. I don't know. You remember Sweden in like the early 2010s? They were garbage.
Yeah,
This was like
that was Zlatan's prime too.
between like 2010 and Euro 2016. This team was crap. They weren't. I'm sorry. I'm not parsing words. I'm frustrated with Sweden, as you can tell.
Yeah.
But they missed 2 World Cups, 2 group stage exits in the Euros. And then as soon as he retired,
It was up.
2017, they prevented Italy and the Netherlands from qualifying for the World Cup, made a run to the quarters. They looked really good at the European Championship, got unlucky, I think, against Ukraine. And ever since this guy's come back in, it's like a return to that old form under when they used to have Eric Cameron. It's like a night and day, and I hate to say it, but you don't want to put it all on one player. I mean, you have to criticize the team and the coach as well for.
Bro, when you have Zlatan back, when you have Zlatan in the setup now, what's gonna happen is guys like Alexander Isak is gonna start doubting himself now because pressure is on him. He was an automatic starter. Now you have Zlatan in the team, then the coach has an option whether to bring off Isak, bring on Zlatan. No, there's a Zlatan shadow looming over Isak now. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, just leave him out, man.
Yeah,
just leave him out. Just leave him out.
You were doing so well when you moved on, and you're having guys step up like Emil Forsberg and this guy.
Exactly.
Emil Forsberg had a fucking great Euros. I mean, he got unlucky. He hit the crossbar, I think, twice in that game against Ukraine. But he was so clutch for them in the group stages for Sweden. Isak looks like a really promising like upstart talent. And then I don't know why they're going back to like old history now with Ibrahimovic. There's some players that are like this. They're very stoic and they have a cult of personality. They build up with their clubs, but for their national team, they just, I hate to say it, they're poison. I think he's poison for Sweden.
Toxic for the team. So look, playoff path B is a little bit difficult to predict though, to be honest. Final will be hosted by Russia or Poland. And look, Sweden, Czech, this could go anyway, man. I'm not calling this one. This is just for discussion purposes. But the team I picked to qualify for the World Cup was Russia and Sweden. I didn't pick Czech Republic, and both of those teams can't qualify. There's only gonna be one. So, you know, let's leave that there, and we'll talk about that another time. Path C.
Wait, we never talked about Poland though. We never talked about Poland.
Oh, what do you mean? We didn't talk about Lewandowski and the other guys? That what you mean?
Yeah, I think Poland's on the downturn anyway. So.
What do you mean? We didn't talk about Lewandowski, the team that needs Lewandowski?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, man. Look. I think they do have a chance, but the other guys got to step up, man. They got to step up. Lewandowski cannot do it by himself. You know what I'm saying? I think if they down Russia, it's going to be tough to get the better of Sweden or the Czech Republic. But they could well do it. They could do it. I think every team in this path, they have a chance. Every team have a chance. But I don't mean to move on from Poland there. But it's just that, you know, it's just a coin toss here. These are just coin tosses in my opinion. But look, the last path is the most interesting path where we have Italy coming up against North Macedonia. And could we see a situation where North Macedonia prevents Italy from getting to the final? Because it's a one-off game hosted by Italy, but it's a one-off game. It could happen, but I think Italy might get the job done. But when you have guys like Ines Badi and Ilif Elmas in the team, these guys are, you know what I mean? These guys are very, very talented and talismanic. So anything, Alioski, you know, Tchaikovsky, you know, Ariana Demi. Look, it could go any which way. But I fancy the Egyptians here to get the job done, if I want to be completely real. And it would be a shame if as Euro winners they fail to qualify for the World Cup yet again, where listen, without a shadow of a doubt, I had Italy qualifying. Listen, nobody could have told me that Italy were gonna be in the playoffs here and come in second in the group behind Switzerland. Nobody could have convinced me that, but it is what happened. It is exactly what happened, and I don't know what it is though. They were magnificent at the Euros, and these last few games where they were just dropping points left, right, and center, it was kind of mind-boggling to be how they were getting these results. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. Did you see? I didn't actually take a look at the last international break where there was some what you call it? There was like a training camp. Mario Balotelli was actually called up. Do you think Balotelli would be involved for these games? Do you think there's a chance?
He could very well be. Yeah. I don't know if Mancini will not necessarily make the cut for once March comes along, but I wouldn't rule it out as a possibility of happening.
Because they're not scoring enough goals right now, and you know what I mean. They need who knows? Maybe Barrio Malotelli could be the man to do the. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he could be the man to get it done. And look, man, I think Italy kind of shot themselves in the foot. You know, another situation that we got to touch on is the fact that these guys were booing Donnarumma in Milan because the game was in Milan, and they were booing that the goalkeeper, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all, and it cost the team the game. You see what I'm saying? They drew that game, I think, right?
Yeah, was it against Bulgaria or something like that?
It was let me see the last.
Was it a club? You mean the international?
It was an international game.
Yeah, it was against
Switzerland. I think that was a game against Switzerland, hosted by Italy.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
No, wait. Let me see. I don't know where this game was. I think it was. I can't remember where exactly the game was played, but I could remember them actually. It was for the Nations League game where they lost the semifinal. But it's things like this. That Nations League game was played in Milan. But it's things like this that actually, you know what I mean, contribute to, because the Nations League game was actually played before the final games against Italy and against Switzerland and Northern Ireland, where they failed to get anything against Northern Ireland, right? And they didn't do well in the Nations League as well, so that's another thing. I expected them to win it after winning the Euros, so it's a string of terrible results. The 1-1 against Bulgaria, the 0-0 against Switzerland, the 1-1 against Switzerland, and the 0-0 against Italy. That's poor. That is poor, and that's actually their last few World Cup games. They only picked up a win against Lithuania that was expected. That's unacceptable, if you ask me. Very unacceptable.
Yeah, my thoughts are I know that a lot of people, when this draw came out, were thinking if there's going to be an upset here, keep an eye on Turkey upending Portugal. Not enough people are talking about North Macedonia doing one over on Italy, because North Macedonia, I think you would agree, are probably a step above a Bulgaria and a Northern Ireland. If Italy drops points against those guys, they can be upended here, because North Macedonia will believe they could do it because they did to Germany last year.
Exactly.
So Italy has to be careful here. I fancy the Italians, of course. I'm not going to say they're going to.
Yeah, Mancini is currently working on the situation right now as we speak, and trying to get his 11 and trying to get everything, in line, because if they do manage to get past North Macedonia, which they should, they would have a matchup against one of Portugal or Turkey. I do fancy Portugal against Turkey here. And Fernando Santos is still in charge. Don't know how, but he's still in charge. And this could be his final match. This could either be his final match, or it could be somewhat of a redemption for, like one last chance for him to go take Portugal through the playoffs, into the World Cup, and then retire, walk into the sunset after the World Cup. You know what I'm saying? But there's a situation we know for sure where one of Italy or Portugal will not qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Could Turkey actually prevent the final between Portugal, who will host it, and Italy? Do you think Turkey got it in them under Stefan Kuntz to pull off something against Portugal? Do you think so?
Yes, I do. I think what happened in the Euros when they underperformed so badly, they lost all three of their games. There was a lot of high hopes for Turkey entering that tournament. Some were billing them as a potential dark horse, and they just flatlined. But the thing with Turkey that we've seen time and time again is sometimes they are inconsistent like this in such a way where when they come up against bigger teams, they will play up to their opponent's level. We saw in qualifying for the Euros, they defeated France, and they went undefeated against France in the process. And I think that Portugal here, their biggest enemy is the coach. It's unfortunate to say, but the biggest hindrance to Portugal qualifying is Fernando Santos. I think that he's wasting, I think, the most talented golden generation of Portugal that they've had in at least 20 years. And it's possible that Turkey can upset them. And if Turkey were to do so, they're hosting that final game in Istanbul. And if they can get past Portugal, imagine the confidence we'll have to come through against Italy or North Macedonia. So there's an opening here for both of these teams to not qualify.
The thing is, Portugal, I think, are the favorites to win this path because simply, listen, this is the plan. I'm going to give Fernando Santos the plan and the key to winning path C. Ruben Diaz has to be involved at all times. Bernardo Silva has to be involved at all times. And João Cancelo. I'm giving you my Manchester City players. They'll be at your disposal. Use them in all the games. Use them in the semis. Use them in the final. You will win. Okay? You use these guys, right? You play, in my opinion, the goalkeeper that should be in goal is the Wolverhampton goalkeeper, Jose Sa. He should be in goal. I don't care about, but it's not going to happen. But I'm just putting forward Sa. Sa should be in goal. It should be a defense. First of all, Pepe should not be playing right now. He's too hot-headed. He's a liability to the team. He's going to do something stupid. And, it's going to cost Portugal some way or the other. I think Bruno Fernandes has to step up big time. But play somebody else with Ruben Diaz at the back. Drop Pepe. I don't know who you're going to play. There's Jose Font. There's Pepe. But I don't think these guys are the players that should be involved, in my opinion. But Cancelo has to play. And I don't know. You see? That is a problem that Fernando Santos has. A selection conundrum where there's so many quality players at his disposal that he does not know who to play at any given time. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I think with Jota, you have Ronaldo, you have Bruno Fernandes, you have Bernardo Silva, you have Pedro Gonçalves. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on. You have Gonzalo Guedes, you have Andre Silva, you have Renato Sanchez. The list is so long.
In other words, a team that has no business missing out on a World Cup and shouldn't be in this situation to begin with. And it's funny because, it's almost as if Italy and Portugal suffer from opposite problems. I think Portugal's issue is getting the lineup selections right and coaching matters. I think with Italy, I think this is psychological. I think that they're still spooked from 2017. They shouldn't be in this situation. They should have gotten the business done in their group. Didn't even have to beat Switzerland. They should have just not dropped points elsewhere. And what's really interesting, I think what Mancini has a double job here. He has to get his selections right, but he also has to get this team's mentality mentality heading into these two legs uh, correctly, because they're potentially staring down the barrel of missing out on a back-to-back World Cup, and
Yeah.
that's going to be more devastating than last time, especially considering they'll have felt when they won the Euros, they put that behind them and they had turned a new page here.
Yep, I thought so too.
And, you know, it's incredible what 4 short months can do in football. But you know, as far as early predictions go, Italy's going to miss the World Cup again.
Yeah,
I think they're missing.
it's looking likely, bro. Look, but for Portugal, I said Jose Font or Pepe shouldn't play. These guys are 38 years old. But when you look around at the options that Portugal have available in terms of defense, there's not a lot in terms of center backs. You see what I'm saying? I just took a look at it in terms of experienced players. So I think one of these players will be involved. Is Pepe actually suspended or something? I think there'll be some suspensions, of course, but I could recall Pepe getting a red card recently. So I can't even, you know. But
I'm not
but look,
sure.
yeah, but not to get too deep into that. But guys need to step up. That's the main point here. João Felix got to step up. Bruno Fernandes has to step up. Cristiano Ronaldo has to step up big time, because look, they had no reason to lose. Let's just give it to Serbia. Serbia were damn good in that game, though.
Yes, they were.
Serbia were good in that game, and they deserve it. But Portugal have themselves to blame here, and maybe they could blame the fact that they didn't have goal line technology in that other game against Serbia too. So
The main reason at the end of the day I lean towards Portugal is because when you really think about it, if we get that Italy Portugal game, the longer that match goes on, 0-0, and the pressure starts mounting and mounting, who's that guy in the pitch you trust to get you that goal out of
Ronaldo.
nowhere? It's Ronaldo. Yeah,
But look, there's also a situation, just like Portugal missed out on the direct spot to Serbia, that Portugal could miss out. There's a situation as well where both Italy and Portugal could miss out.
for sure.
You see what I'm saying? So it's either both Italy or Portugal or one of each. Or we could see a situation where one of them get into the play. Okay, we could see a situation where there's a North Macedonia Turkey final, or there's a Turkey Italy or a North Macedonia Portugal final. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anything could happen, man, and it makes for fun discussion. So
Also,
look,
I think Chiesa might be missing for Italy because I think I heard a couple weeks ago, like he picked up a knocking or something.
and that's gonna be a big miss. That is gonna be a big miss.
Huge.
Players would need to step up indeed, and you know what I mean. Now would be the perfect time to do so. So in the playoff paths, I did pick Portugal and Italy to both qualify. Right now, I think it's hard to pick, but Portugal should be the favorites here, seeing that if they win, they'll host the final.
Agreed.
And the next path, I'm sticking with Sweden and Scotland for the other path there. I don't think I picked any of these teams to qualify for the World Cup there, and one of them will. So,
Okay.
any closing thoughts on Europe before we move into the final confederation? Our favorite one, our favorite one.
Yeah, I have Portugal. I think Sweden will do just enough, and I think I lean towards Wales. Another third one.
All right. So yeah, man.